we'll move on to the next speaker of the symposium. We have two more speakers for the day. One is Devamalya Ji and the other is Professor Sunita Madhavan Ji. First, let us go to Devamalya Ji. His topic is Ethics and Realpolitik, a hybrid framework from Śukranīti and Vaiśampāyana's Nītīprakāśikā for Bharat's global engagement. Again, this topic also fits the bill so well that both these books, Śukranīti Sara and Vaiśampāyana's book, Nītīprakāśikā, have not received due attention. I thank Devamalya Ji for choosing this not so chosen topic. Senior construction project leader and author, I'll give an introduction to Devamalya Ji. Devamalya is a civil engineer, project leader, and heritage scientist who bridges Indic knowledge systems with modern governance and technology, and an IIM Kozhikode alumni with 22 plus years in mega projects across India, Bahrain, and the Gulf. He applies the Dharmic principles of duty, balance, and sustainability to state-scale undertakings. Currently pursuing MTech in Heritage Science and Technology at IIT Hyderabad, he integrates Shastra with Shilpa, policy with practice. As a GM of AI NAML contracting, he leads multi-million-dollar projects while advancing heritage-sensitive governance. His work embodies Lokasangraha, sustaining people, culture, and nature through civilizationally rooted statecraft. Thank you once again for choosing this rare topic, Devamalya Ji. Your lighting seems to be dull, Devamalya Ji. Can you use one more light or brighten the light in the room or something like that?
Namaste all. The current Indica Symposium on Indian Knowledge System Studies on Statecraft, Political Thought, and Governance is more than an academic gathering. It is a civilizational moment, a call to re-engage with the political wisdom that once guided Bharat's rulers, communities, and civilizations across millenniums. My topic for the day, Ethics and Realpolitik, a hybrid framework from Śukranīti and Vaiśampāyana's Nītīprakāśikā, is divided into the following segments. So first is an introduction, why Dharmic Realpolitik now? The forgotten texts, Śukranīti and Nītīprakāśikā. Śukranīti, the architecture of power and good governance. Nītīprakāśikā, ethos and practice of leadership. Synthesizing wisdom towards a hybrid governance model. Lessons from history, missed opportunities and strategic setbacks. Future relevance and the call for Dharma-driven power. Next. Now, modern Indian political thought in India too often takes its bearings from the West. Machiavelli's Prince, Hobbes' Leviathan, and the realist obsessions of international relations. These frameworks prize power, often at the cost of ethics. But Bharat's own textual heritage offers a different paradigm, one where Dharma anchors power and pragmatism never descends into cynicism. Next. So as I mentioned, the challenges of relying on borrowed frameworks is essentially that those frameworks prize power at the cost of ethics. Next. Rediscovering Indian statecraft traditions. Bharat's own textual heritage offers a different paradigm, Dharma anchoring power and pragmatism never descending into cynicism. Next. The forgotten texts Śukranīti and Nītīprakāśikā. Now, while the Arthashastra is well known, it is not alone. The vast reservoir of Indian statecraft also includes Śukranīti and Vaiśampāyan's Nītīprakāśikā, both of which illuminate leadership models that fuel nīti, ethical wisdom, with Rajniti, governance. Next. Śukranīti, attributed to Shukracharya, constructs the architecture of statecraft in terms of fiscal prudence, military organization, environmental foresight, and social welfare. Next. Significance and legacy of Nītīprakāśikā. Nītīprakāśikā animates it with the qualities of leadership, courage, shaurya, discernment, viveka, adaptability, yuktita, and accountability. Next. Now, together, they unveil what we may call as the Dharmic Realpolitik. Not naive idealism, not ruthless cynicism, but principled pragmatism, wielding power under the watch of Dharma. Next. At a time when India seeks to articulate its place in a multipolar world, returning to this neglected reservoir is not an act of nostalgia, it is a civilizational necessity. The symposium offers the stage to rediscover and reclaim this Indic vocabulary of power. Next. Now, coming to Śukranīti, the architecture of power and good governance. Next. So, Śukranīti, attributed to Shukracharya, is not a Machiavellian manual of deception, but a comprehensive structural vision of governance. It spans taxation, army, environment, justice, espionage, and successful planning. Next. At its core is the axiom, Raja Dharmena Palayeta Praja. The king must govern his subjects through dharma. On sacrifices of self-interest, Raja Praja Hitarthaya Swarthena Api Parityajit. For the welfare of his subjects, the king should renounce even his own interests. On just taxation, it says, Na ati darunam karam dharayata raja kathamchana. The king must never impose taxes that are excessively harsh. Next. On treasury and wealth. Raja kosham samasadya dhanam cha vividham bahu loka yatram samalaksha yatha shakti niveshayat. The king, having gathered wealth in his treasury, must spend it on sustaining society. On army and defense, it says, Durgam cha vardhayata raja, balam cha vividham bahu, koshena palayata rashtram, dandena ripabhakshayam. The king should strengthen forts and maintain diverse forces. The treasury preserves the state. Punishment destroys enemies. Next. On espionage, it says, Gupta charena niunjita shatru mitra griheshucha raja karyam shushidhyartam tadvidhinam vinashayati. Secret agents must be employed in the houses of both foes and allies. Without this, the king's undertakings fail. On punishment, and this is most amazing. I mean, this I really loved it. Danda eva param dharmo, danda eva param yasha, danda eva param sarva, danda eva param sukham. Punishment is the highest dharma, the highest glory, the highest heaven, and the highest happiness. If you look at all the different nīti literature or other governance texts across the world, we may not find a similar verse anywhere. Next. On people's welfare, Raja praja hite yukta swahitam saddhayata sada prajanam ahite yukta swayam api advahanam rajit. The king who acts for subjects' welfare secures his own interest. Acting against them, he himself perishes. This is the acid test. People's welfare is the ruler's only guarantee of survival. Next. Śukranīti's vision for a balanced state. Ethical exercise of power. Power should be used responsibly, guided by ethics to promote justice and fairness across society. Balance of authority and compassion. Authority must be tempered with compassion to ensure decisions nurture citizen well-being and social harmony. Holistic governance. Governance should integrate multiple dimensions, ensuring welfare, justice, and ethical responsibility for citizens. Next. Nītīprakāśikā, ethos and practice of leadership. Next. Vaiśampāyana, the narrator of the Mahabharata, distilled in Nītīprakāśikā a handbook for rulers, not structural blueprints, but ethical rhythm of leadership. On motive, he says, Na raja rajyam ichcheta, swarthatam kevalam kachit. A ruler must never desire sovereignty solely for personal gain. On friendship, courage, and truth, he says, Maitrim shauryam cha kuryat satyam evanupalayat. The king should cultivate friendship and courage and uphold truth unfailingly. Next. Leadership triad and governance dynamics. On Sandhi and Vigraha, peace and war. Nītīprakāśikā insists peace and war are not absolutes, but contextual duties. It prescribes Dvaiti Bhava, dual policy, balancing negotiation with preparation for conflict. Unlike Machiavelli, this is not cynical, it is Dharmic realism. On Danda, as in Shukra, punishment is sacred. Applied rightly, it sustains order. Wrongly, it annihilates legitimacy. Next. Daily administration, diplomacy, and the use of power. On mandala theory, Vaiśampāyana extends Kautilya's mandala, circle of kings, friend, foe, foe's friend, but infuses it with cosmic archetypes. Battle formations are likened to Garuda, Krauncha, Varaha, warfare as Dharma in action. On administration, daily governance, taxation, espionage, justice delivery is treated as both a technical necessity and moral obligation. The ruler is custodian, not profiteer. Next. Now, coming to the synthesizing of the wisdom towards a hybrid governance model. Next. Śukranīti, the structure of power, treasury, army, bureaucracy, surveillance, punishment, justice, pragmatism admitted, selfishness outlawed. Nītīprakāśikā, on the other hand, is the ethos of leadership, discernment, alliances, dual policy, valor, dharmic adaptability. Together, they form the canon of Dharmic Realpolitik. Pragmatic but not cynical, ethical but not naive, ruthless when necessary, yet rooted in cosmic order. Next. Now, let's come to a very critical and important stage of this presentation. Lessons from history. Missed opportunities and strategic setbacks. So how about if we had applied this hybrid model? Would we have got different outcomes? Let's see. Next. The first major historical outcome that we can talk about is the China 1962 strategic missteps and learnings. So our first prime minister trusted slogans like Hindi Chini Bhai Bhai, ignoring Shukra's call for vigilance and Vaiśampāyana's counsel for nimble alliances. Result, 1962 humiliation. Next. Pakistan 1971, decisive leadership in action. After a decisive military victory, India gifted away, I would say rather frittered away, strategic leverage at Shimla. Śukranīti would demand long-term Prajahita security. Nītīprakāśikā would insist on firmness and peace. Both were ignored. Next. Economic reforms delay. 1991 and the non-alignment trap. A lot of our economists and modern-day political scientists eulogize the 1991 political reforms as having changed the course of India. But actually, we changed it rather late. India opened its markets only under crisis in 1991, while China surged ahead in 1978. Shukra's structural vision of prosperity plus Vaiśampāyana's ethos of adaptability could have urged earlier reform. Next. Non-alignment principle. India have been for a very long time stuck in this non-alignment principle, clinging rigidly to this particular principle, denied India flexible alliances. Nītīprakāśikā's Dvaidi Bhava offers a ready template for balancing power without abandoning Dharma. Next. Contemporary relevance and the call for Dharma-driven power. Next. So, how can we make noticeable and impactful changes going forward? So, firstly, in education, Shukra stresses Vidya as the state foundation. Indian curricula must integrate nīti texts to restore civilizational confidence. Environment. Shukra's proto-ecology, forests, water, cattle, prefigures climate debates. India can anchor its diplomacy in dharmic stewardship. Diplomacy. Nītīprakāśikā's nimbleness, firm yet ethical, fit India's needs in a volatile multipolar world. Next. Recommendations. So why not adopt this Dharmic Realpolitik in governance training, think tanks, civil services? Curricular reform, embed nīti texts in political science and international relation courses. Strategic application, defense, build capacities as dharmic duty. Diplomacy, alliances guided by discernment, not naivete. Economy, focus on sustainability, not populism. Expand the canon. Study Bhartrihari, Kamandaka, Tirukural alongside Shukra and Vaiśampāyana. Next. Last but not the least, epilogue, a call to awakening. So ethical governance fosters social cohesion and sustainable development within communities. The West splits politics into realism versus idealism, which India never did. Shukra and Vaiśampāyana remind us power without dharma is tyranny, and dharma without power is incompetence. The king who neglects either perishes. Had India embraced this hybrid model, history might read differently. Yet the greater challenge is ahead as Bharat rises in the 21st century. Will it govern by borrowed theories or by its own civilizational wisdom? The answer must be clear. Let us walk forward and armed with Shukra's architecture and Vaishampāyana's ethos, fusing ethics with realpolitik. Then alone can Bharat speak with authority, principled, adaptive, unstoppable. Thank you. Any questions?
I had put one thing in the comment. So Śukranīti is written by Shukracharya, right? He is the Asura Guru. And see, what I find strange, right? Asuras were never successful, or they were not righteous, at least as far as we have seen, right? So how does this connect, right? So Shukracharya has given a excellent treatise, but on the other hand, the people whom he was teaching were not good or successful. How do you see that?
The Śukranīti as a tradition is pretty old. If we go by the actual history, there is reference of Śukranīti in Kautilya's Arthashastra. There is reference of Śukranīti also in Mahabharata. And Śukranīti was not only the earliest one. There was, prior to that, there was Prajapati Nīti also coming from Brahma. So the connection of Shukracharya with the Asuras and being the guru of Asuras, for the simple thing is, we look at it in a very simplistic way. Asuras were, if you can read it, is like Ashura, who were not Devas, and they also were learned people. And here we are considering only Shukracharya's contribution in terms of the treatise that he has written. Not trying to connect, whether good or bad, or getting into binaries. So if we have to do a value judgment.
So shall I weigh in?
Yes.
Just adding to and supporting what Devamalya ji is trying to say. Sriram ji, actually, there are two different perspectives. Taking the textual studies from a scientific historical perspective and trying to see which is an older text and a newer text, which text is attributed to which author, is a totally different business than trying to link them to the Puranic characters, like the Shukra of Puranas, the Shukra of Itihasas, and all that. That is not very useful while dealing with the actual historical chronology of books and finding the names of the authors of these books. These two are totally two different fields and activities and businesses. As far as possible, it's always healthy not to connect them. Whether this Shukra is the actual Shukra of the Puranas or not can never be established. So we can only say that there is a text which is giving us our knowledge of statecraft, governance, and leadership. And it has been attributed to an author who has also got a name called Shukra. And that Shukra, whether he is the Shukra of the Puranas or not, is not very clear, is what we can say at the end of the day.
Got it. Good.
Thank you very much, Devamalya ji, for bringing in the texts that were not given much attention, the due attention that they deserved earlier. So, and you are already in IIT Hyderabad, so you might even take this up from the institute also to highlight and publicize this kind of material into IKS studies.